Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to episode number 5 of The Hidden Window. Hope you're all having a good week out there. Bob, hope you knocked it over the fence. Things are going good for you. So, hey, before I start, heard about some search engines. Google's not the best sometimes. Google's kind of, they scrub it, they monitor, they watch what's out there. Sometimes you're not going to find what you want. So there is one called Yandex, which I just started using, and it's working out pretty good. So it's Yandex, Yandex. Check it out. Maybe you'll find your searches a bit easier using that one. So let's go to some lighthearted news. Let's turn to the UK for this one, folks. We were there last week with the City of London. Let's make it some lighthearted UK news today. Going to Lincolnshire Wildlife Park. And they have a problem with some bad-mouthed birds. That's right, birds. Parrots, to be exact. They have these 8 parrots there that, as they call them, they have putty mouths. So we know what they're saying over there. 8 parrots. People come to the zoo, and these things are just going off the rail on people, and it's embarrassing the park. So I'm like, what are we going to do with these 8 putty-mouthed parrots? They came up with an idea to put them into the flock. There's 92 other birds, which they call polite birds, also parrots, obviously. They decided, hey, you know what? Let's roll the 8 bad ones into the 92 good ones, hoping that maybe they may get rehabilitated and they won't have such potty mouths anymore. Of course, the fear was that, you're bringing the 8 to the 92 good, and maybe you might wind up with 100 parrots that are now just obscene as you can get. Luckily, the experiment appears to be working. So that's a bit of good news. The only thing that they're finding, and it's driving a few people nuts, is that one of the 8 parrots keeps singing, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," over and over again. Now, that's pretty good around November, December. Not so fun in February, so it's driving people a bit nuts. So there you go with some lighthearted news.
There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered.
All right, thank you there, Bert. As always, great to hear Bert the turtle. As you know, I mentioned episode 1, I travel a lot. So I'm out, I believe it was in Tennessee, and I'm having dinner. It was just early this week, and I overheard a couple, probably in their 40s, and they were discussing miracles, and they were getting somewhat despondent. Actually, the word I give it is melancholy. How about that? It's hard to put melancholy in a sentence, but there you go, it kind of fit. Melancholy. So I overheard the conversations. They were talking about miracles, actually the lack of them. They were discussing how they really wish that there would be some form of miracle that they could point to and, sink their teeth into. They mentioned there was a lot, one-offs, medical miracles, miracles that happened to 1 or 2 or 3 people, but they were really looking for the grand slam, something that happened to thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people. And all I could say, and they were getting a little bit discouraged, that all I remember was stuff that was ancient. Nothing current. They were hoping for something perhaps in this own century. I listened for a while, and I, walked up to them politely, said, listen, I really couldn't, hate to overhear what you're saying. And I was talking about miracles. Have either of you ever heard of the miracle of the sun? Both of them said no, they never heard of such a miracle. I said, it happened around 1917, so what you're looking for, some current things, and it involved over 70,000 people. I left it at that. They asked me questions. I figured, well, you know what? Go look it up. I don't want to ruin your fun and, take you down a different path. Check it out, Miracle of the Sun. So I'm thinking, there are people out there. If there's 2, there's more. Maybe the news is just so depressing, what's going on. People want to hear a bit of something that they could sink your teeth into, have some faith, and miracles do that. That's a big boost. So let's go to May 1917 in a town called Fatima, Portugal. Some of you might have heard of this, but you're not going to hear of the grand finale that happened in October 13th. The story starts that there were 3 poor little shepherd children in the fields tending their sheep when they said a lady appeared to them, blazing white, bright as the sun. Now, they could look upon her without hurting their eyes. The apparition told them to come back the 13th of every month, and she will appear to them again. So they started talking about this. They went back to their parents, who just said, no, absolutely not. You're saying things. They were just brushed off. And then the next month, it happened again. It was June 13th. So these apparitions are starting to be talked about within the community. They were under a lot of pressure. They were not well liked. Most notably, the mayor of the town, the police department, they wanted to put an end to this. They went to the parents and said, you will stop this. They threatened them. You're going to stop your kids from going there, or something bad's going to happen to you. So you stop these kids from going and talk about this. Enough of this nonsense. Well, these three children wouldn't stop. They kept it up. On September of that year, they went to the apparition site, but they never showed up. They were kidnapped by the local police. They were taken to a prison about 12 miles away, and they were mentally and physically abused. They were tortured, threatened with death. They had a pot of boiling oil, and they said they were going to boil the kids alive in it if they didn't recant and stop this. These three children would not recant. They dug their heels in. They would not budge. And they were quite young, 7, 10, 12 years old. These are young kids. They wouldn't give up. So these are some tough little kids. What happened after that? They went back, and everyone was saying this has to end. The three children then said the next vision, which would be October 13th, 1917, they were promised that there would be a miracle that would be shown to all so that all may believe. So these three children foretold what was going to happen. On that day, October 13th, 1917, people showed up from all over, and they were coming in for days and days. See, I could just imagine seeing these people walking, some in carts. Imagine very few cars back then. The dust that must have been kicked up must have been horrific. So I'm looking at this, and all these people are showing up from all over. 70,000 eventually were there that morning. And you had to figure, I look at it, and they were probably broken into three groups. The first group was the one that wanted to believed and wanted to be just an exclamation point put on this. And then the second group, probably the largest of the three, were the ones that I've heard about this, what's going on here. Hey, let's go see for ourselves. Seeing's believing. Let's go see what's going on. And then there was a third group. The third group was comprised of those who were absolutely didn't want to believe, that they were vehemently opposed to this. There were some in the paper, the local paper, the local governments, who wanted this dispelled. They wanted this done away with, and they showed up in force to just disparage the whole thing. So you have 70,000 people that showed up at this little mountainside, and the roads were, before then, it was very dry, I was reading, and there's a tremendous amount of dust. The next day, there was a deluge. It was just a downpour. So the fields just turned to a quagmire of mud. These people, and they still showed up. Nothing was deterring these people. There are pictures of many people, tens of thousands of people with umbrellas. Now, this is October, so it's going to get kind of cold. So you're going to get wet, you're going to get cold, and it's not going to be much fun. The fields would have been saturated, and that's what happened. These people are getting wet, they're getting cold, but nobody left. What happened about noontime? People started looking up. Something happened up in the sky. The rain stopped. All the clouds parted. And then the sun began to do some extraordinary things. It would dance in the sky. It would spin about wildly, gyrating back and forth. Physicians who were there said people for 10 minutes stared at the sun with no physical discomfort. All right, so that's not possible. You cannot stare at the sun for 10 minutes. You go blind, okay? Could not happen. So how is that possible? Another thing was noticed. The ground was dry. Their clothes were dry. I looked up on some sites of what kind of force could have done that, to dry clothes, dry the ground in 10 minutes. Well, nothing could have done that. It's unfathomable amount of energy that was taken to have done that is impossible. Yet, it happened. This was reported. This occurred. So you have a ton of things. And I look at the news now or the different sites, and even to this day, they want to dispel this. They said, well, it was something known as a sundog. I've seen sundogs where you have the sun in one location and two what appears to be smaller suns on each side of it. The thing with a sundog is, A, they don't move. They're not going anywhere, okay? And they also are not going to dry your clothes and they're not going to dry the ground. So you can rule out the sundog. Then people talk about mass hallucinations. These people were all hyped up. They were expecting a miracle and they got it, right? Don't forget, this audience was comprised of many people, probably 10, 15,000, who were opposed to this. They wanted to dispel what was going on. Of course, they reported seeing it too. Now, it wasn't a one-off here. I look back in the records, people 21 miles away, 27 miles away, 12 miles away, reported seeing the same thing. So people looked on horizon and they saw what was going on. And a lot of them were just in sheer terror because they had no idea what this event was. I looked at the horizon and I looked up how far can you see on the horizon. It's approximately 31 miles, which makes sense. The people from around the region could see this up into a certain range. Now, if you were in London or France or Paris, you wouldn't have seen any of this. This was localized right there. So on that immediate horizon. Very, very hard to dispel this. So you look back, 70,000 people. The papers who wanted to dispel it 2 days later wrote how they, in fact, did witness this. This miracle was performed for all to believe. So the date was given, the time was given. We have many things, very hard to brush this one off. Not sunspots, not mass hallucination. The only thing you can believe is that this event did occur. So there you go. That was the miracle of the sun. Now, you may be wondering, did this vision ever speak to the children and let them know who she was? The answer to that is yes, she did. She said she was the Lady of the Rosary. Now, at this point, I'm certain, knowing people as I know them, we are once again dividing into our three groups. The ones who just want to confirm what they believe, ones that say, I wasn't there, I didn't see this, and the ones that think, no, that's nonsense, I'm not going to believe it. The purpose of the show is to say something that is not talked about. It's not often spoken. This is one of those events, the miracle of sun. Look it up for yourselves. Take the time out before you make decisions. Investigate this. I encourage you. If you use different sites, you will see what I'm talking about. And when you see those things and they challenge it, remember everything we talked about. Remember how others have saw this. The children said it would happen. It did happen. The clothes were dry. A lot of sites don't talk about that, so pretty hard to shake this one off. So there you go, Miracle of the Sun. Go check it out. All right, there you go, Valerie, by special request. There you have it. Okay, so talk to my sister. I have a sister down in North Carolina. She lives there with my mom and her husband, and they had a visit from my other sister up in New Jersey. She came down, and after about 2 or 3 days, she started going, "That's it. You're going to stop it. You're driving me crazy." And my sister, what's wrong? What am I doing? What's the matter? You sigh all the time. You sigh all day. You're driving me nuts. You sigh constantly. And my sister was taken back by this. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't sigh. And then she started listening to herself. And guess what? She sighs. Huh. Well, how about that? Not a big deal, but I guess it would drive somebody crazy. I remember hearing people sigh. I'm like, what's wrong? Well, you just sighed. Well, is there something wrong? Well, no, but I just heard you sigh. You sure nothing's wrong? No, nothing wrong. So I started listening to myself. I'm like, I'm going to see if I sigh. I do. Not only do I sigh, I'm a sigh machine. Where did this come from? I don't remember sighing. It's this little thing in the back of my brain. No one told me. I had no idea. So I started listening to myself. I'm like, did a gene kick in when I was like 50 and it just took over me? I had no idea. So now I am hyper aware of sighing. And now once I said this, there are going to be those of you out there, I know it because it happened to me. It's contagious. I wonder if I sigh. And you're going to start doing that. You're going to say, I've turned into my mother and father. It's happened. I think it's a normal progression. I think that happens. But there you have it, sighs. I had no idea. So I'm doing it again. See, I just did it. Well, that's the way it is. All right, folks, listen. Have a great week out there. Bob, you take it easy. Take care.